we are, another JASS initiative, and we're going to make chocolate chip muffins. Okay, so what we have here, we have our two bowls, we have our caster sugar, we have our flour, we have our milk. We're going to use coconut milk, and we have our baking powder, we have our vanilla essence, we have our cocoa or our drinking chocolate, we have our chocolate chips, we have our butter, and we have our eggs. Okay, we've also got two bowls, one for the dry ingredients and one for the wet ingredients. We have our muffin tin and we have our muffin cases. Okay, so there we are again. We have our flour, we have our chocolate, drinking chocolate or cocoa powder, we have our chocolate chips, we have our vanilla essence, we have our caster sugar, we have our butter, we have our eggs, our baking powder, and we have some icing sugar as well for the top. Okay, so it's very important. Two bowls, our cases, our muffin cases, and our tray. Okay, another very important thing to do is to turn on the cooker and preheat the oven and make sure it's on fan or confectionery, and you know, make sure the oven is nice and hot before you start putting your muffins together. Okay, so the first process is we're going to mix all our dry ingredients together. So what we've done is we have our flour, we have our cocoa powder, and we have our baking powder in the bowl here. So what we've done is we've sieved the flour, the cocoa powder, and the baking powder into the bowl. Okay, so all the dry ingredients are now in the bowl. Okay, we're just going to give it a little bit of a stir. Okay, so all our dry ingredients are ready. Okay, so the next process is after we've sieved our flour, our cocoa powder, and our bread soda, is to add in the sugar into our dry ingredients. Okay, so we're adding in our sugar. Again, we're just gently going to make sure that the mix of all the ingredients are all mixed well, and you know, it's all mixed through and well, that they're all combined to each other. So in this bowl we have the sieved flour, we have the sieved cocoa powder, we have the sieved baking powder, and we have our sugar, and that has gone into the mix now. So for our wet ingredients, we have our milk, okay, we have our eggs, and we have our butter, okay, and we have our vanilla essence. So what we're going to do is we're just going to melt our butter in the microwave. So the next process is to melt the butter in the microwave. So while the butter is melting, we're just going to beat up our eggs with a whisk. Good whisk. Good whisk. Okay. We're going to add in our milk. Okay. Good whisk. We're going to do is then we're going to add in a tiny drop of vanilla essence. So when you're using the vanilla essence, it's always safe just to put your finger over it and just get a drop. Okay, just a little sprinkle. That's enough. Sprinkle of vanilla essence, because the vanilla essence can be very strong. Okay, so we're just waiting on our butter to melt, and then we're going to add all our wet ingredients together. So as you can see there, our butter is melted. So we're just letting it cool down just slightly because it's warm. We just have to melt it, and we're not have to bring it to the boil or anything. So we just melted the butter in the microwave. So we're just going to let that cool. We have our eggs all beaten up. We have our dry mix all here. So what we're going to do is, the next step is to put all our wet ingredients in with our dry ingredients. Okay, so our eggs, just to recap, we have our eggs, and we have our milk, we have our vanilla essence, and we have our melted butter. Okay, a good way of cooling down your butter is just to put you know, your jug of melted butter into a cold container of water, and just to keep stored in it. That will bring the temperature of the butter right down. Okay, so it's very important that the butter must cool before it goes into the egg and milk and vanilla mix, because we don't want the eggs to crack. So our butter is cooled. Okay, so we're just going to add in our butter to the mix. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to give it a good stir. Okay, so we've mixed. We have all the wet ingredients together, which is the eggs, the milk, the vanilla essence, and the butter. We have our dry ingredients now, which is our flour, our cocoa powder, our bacon powder, and our caster sugar. Okay, so everything is well mixed together. Okay, so what we're going to do is now we're going to make a little well in the middle. We're going to add in our wet ingredients. Okay, and then we're going to mix, give it a good mix. So just add in some, because again, we don't want the mixture to be too wet. Okay, so we're going to give it a good whisk, or a good mix. We're going to make it into like a batter. Okay, so we can see the mix is starting to come together now. So we're just going to give that a good mix. So there we can see the consistency there in relation to the mix. It's like a thick batter. So we have all our ingredients added in there, and the next thing to do is just to add in our chocolate chips. Okay, so we've got a half bag of chocolate chips here, so we're going to add in our chocolate chips. Okay, and we're going to give the chocolate chips a good stirring with the wooden spoon. Okay, just to make sure that the chocolate chips are well mixed in and well divided amongst the mix. Okay, so we're just going to let the mix just set there just for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to start putting the mix into our case. So what I like to do is, when I'm filling up the cases, the muffin cases, is I have a scone cutter. I'll put the scone cutter over the case, and then what I would do is then I would spoon in the mixture in between the sows, that it doesn't end up being messy. So we're going to fill up the cases. Okay, so we're filling up our cases. Alright, here we go again. So we're filling up our cases. It's very important to make sure that when you are putting the muffins in, that the oven is hot, is preheated, and is very hot, in order for the baking powder to work as the raising agent. Okay, so here we go again. I'm going to fill up our muffin cases. Okay, put them right up. there we go, our bowl is more or less empty, and we have our chocolate muffin cases all filled up. Okay, so what we're going to do is now we're going to put the muffins into the hot oven. So here we go, our muffins are going into the hot oven. So the oven won't open until the ovens are cooked, until the muffins are cooked. So you can see our muffins now cooking away. They're in the oven now about 15 to nearly 20 minutes. So they're after rising up nice and they're looking well. Okay, so we're just going to give them another couple of minutes in the oven, and then we'll take them out. So there we are, our muffins are out of the oven. You can see they're after rising a bit and they're after cooking out. Okay, so we're just going to let them cool down, and then what we're going to do is we're going to prepare them with some ice and sugar. Okay, so we're just going to let the muffins set for about 10 or 15 minutes, let them cool down, and then we're going to dust them then with some ice and sugar. There we go, and we're just going to dust our muffins with some ice and sugar. Okay, it gives them a nice kind of look, kind of frosty, kind of nice look. So there we go, there's our muffins. They look nice after rising. There's some nice ice and sugar on them now. So have a go at making these muffins. I'll put the recipe up, and the recipe that we will be putting up on the Facebook page will be for 4 muffins. Okay, and I've made 8 here, but the recipe that I'll be putting up is for 4. Okay, so have a go.